I'd like to welcome everybody to Keystroke Live this morning. We're going to be talking about tax tables, and sales tax, unfortunately, is something we all have to deal with, and Keystroke is very powerful for being able to calculate and report on sales tax. Just a little bit about Keystroke Live. Every morning, every Thursday, 9 o'clock Mountain Time, same place, same login information. Every week the topic's a little bit different. And the first Thursday of the month is hosted by our president, Michael Gebb, and which will be next week for all of you. Tax tables are a way of having Keystroke calculate sales tax, and then you can report on the sales tax within the program. There are actually four parts to tax tables, or to calculating sales tax. You create tax tables which are assigned to your customers. It's at what rate they are taxed. So you might have a regular sales tax rate for walk-in customers. You might have a sales tax rate or several rates if you do deliveries in different taxing entities or different counties or cities that have different tax rates. So that's the first thing. You have to assign a tax table to your customer when you're doing a sale. The tax districts are used to be able to report on separate taxing agencies. So this, whether you have multiple districts or a single district, primarily depends on how you need to report your sales taxes to these various agencies. And then within each district there are the tax formulas that determine at what rate and how much an item is taxed. And then on every inventory item that you sell, you attach a tax code which says this item, in very basic terms, it's either taxable or non-taxable. Some states and some areas you have different tax rates depending. For example, food might be a different tax rate than other types of hard goods or paper goods or something like that. And a reminder, because it seems like about every quarter somebody is changing tax rates. Very important. When your tax rate changes, you're always going to take your existing formulas and put an end date on them and add new formulas with the new start date. Otherwise, it can really mess up your reporting. And these formulas, of course, are date sensitive, and I'll show you that when we get into Keystroke for a moment. And I can't emphasize enough, when the tax rate changes, you need to end formulas and add new formulas. There are several parameters that I'm going to show you here shortly, such as including the tax and the price. You could say price an item at $5 and have a code on it that says that $5 also includes the sales tax. So that's a very popular parameter. And there's also parameters like minimum purchase, or you can round your taxing and subtotal it, or on receipt, so you can see your different tax entities. For example, bottle deposits, you may want to report separately. So let's take a look at Keystroke. Sales tax is set up in Configuration Manager. You can see that on the bottom, on your status line on the bottom of your window, under the Tables menu and Tax. And we've even added nice little reminders that the tables are assigned to customers and the codes are assigned to inventory. Let's take a look at our tax tables. This is a very basic setup. We have our state and local sales tax. It's currently at 8.25%, and the letters next to it are the taxing districts that are involved with these tax tables, and I'll show you those in a moment. Other tax tables that we have are for tax exempt, out of state, and resale wholesale. All of those are at 0%, but it does allow you to report on those types of sales tax, or to see what kind of sales that you've done. For like nonprofits might be exempt. If you're shipping out of state, you may not charge sales tax. Or if you're selling to someone for purposes of resale or wholesale where they don't have to pay tax. Let's take a look at state and local. We have two districts in here. One is our regular state and local tax district, and then we have a bottle deposit district. This is one of two ways generally people can do bottle deposits in Keystroke. You can do it as a sales tax, or you could do scripting. And in our sample data in Keystroke, we illustrate using it as sales tax. Let's take a look at the state and local district. Notice we have a lot of formulas in here. The first several formulas, notice, have a blank start date, which kind of goes back to the beginning of time, but it ends in February of 2011. So this illustrates how tax rates change and how you would add new formulas. So none of these top formulas up here, they're not good any longer. But if you go back to look at a transaction prior to this tax rate changing, those items got charged at this lower rate. Non-taxable items are 0%, and then we get into our new formulas where the tax rate changed. Let's take a look at T taxable items. Now remember, the tax code up at the top, as well as in this first column here, is the code assigned to inventory records. You can put in your tax amount. This could be a dollar amount rather than a percent amount. I've heard of places like on tires, there's a tax for a disposal fee that's a dollar amount, and you can set that up. For our purposes, we're just looking at the percent, and generally it's based on price, although there may be circumstances that you can change your tax amount to be based on the price is whatever you put on the invoice that you sell the item for. Base price is whatever is in that base price field on the inventory record. So you may sell it for less than base price, but you need to charge tax on the full base price, the full list price, or possibly even the cost. It's my understanding a lot of cell phone companies and that sort of thing, even though they're giving you a really good deal on the cell phone, or you may even be getting it for nothing, they still need to charge sales tax, at least on the cost of the item. So there are varying circumstances for this. You have your date range. This started the 3rd of February of 2011 and goes on into the future. You can also set up minimum purchase amounts, where a tax doesn't kick in until you've purchased a certain amount. A lot of entities have like a luxury tax if you're purchasing items over $10,000, or some places have a tax amnesty day or week where you don't pay tax unless you purchase more than a certain amount. That's where the minimum purchase would come in. In this case, we don't have one, but that can be based on the line quantity, the amount, based on the tax code quantity or the tax code amount, or so all the items on the transaction that have the same tax code can be based on the subtotal of the whole transaction, or it can be based on price. And then down here, you can choose to subtract the minimum purchase amount so that you don't get taxed until only for the amount above the minimum purchase. These are all the other parameters that we have. You can have the tax included in the price. So if this is checked, any items that are marked with the T taxable tax code and the price is, say, $5, Keystroke will actually back calculate the sales tax amount based on that price. So the price will actually be reflected lower in your sales tax. And if you're selling one item, it will round to whatever that price is. You can choose to round up or round your tax on each item, and you can always choose to round up your tax. Keystroke help files are very good in kind of describing these various parameters. I'm not going to show them to you at this moment, but if you would hit F1 help, it will bring up a lot of these parameters and what this is all about. And of course, you can always call us if you have a particularly sticky issue. You can have your sales tax taxed by other tax formulas. Nobody likes to see a tax on a tax. There are very few circumstances that I'm aware of in the United States, but it is possible. Allowing subtotal on receipts allows you to have your different tax districts so that you could see, in our case, we have a regular sales tax and we have a bottle deposit, and I'll show you how that works on bottle deposit. And then we have ignore non-taxable pay flag. It's generally for special payment types like food stamps or EBT or SNAP, something like that. So that's regular sales tax, and then of course we've got our bottle deposits. Now this is just the regular sales tax on the bottle deposit item. So you pay for a single bottle, you still pay your regular sales tax. But let's kind of, I'll give you a little idea of what the bottle deposit looks like on this. So we have single bottle. It gets an extra 5 cents every time you buy a single bottle of a beverage. And this is where the allow subtotal on receipts. So at the bottom of your receipt, you will see your regular sales tax and then your bottle deposit amount. And of course, this bottle deposit, it's 5 cents on a single bottle. 6 packs are 30 cents or 6 times a nickel. And I can show you that in Keystroke. We can take a look at inventory. And for example, we have in our sample data, Pepsi 6-pack. Notice its tax code is 2. That's just what we were talking about. So it's a 6-pack. So based on that, that 6-pack is going to have 30 cents of bottle deposit along with our regular 8.25% of regular sales tax. That kind of gives you a little bit of an overview on how taxes are set up. We started by looking at tax tables. You could go directly to tax codes. You have a list of your tax codes here. And this is what goes on the inventory records and determines how things get taxed. And then your districts. Here we have our state and local bottle deposit. Remember, your formulas are in districts. And you have districts are basically your taxing entities. This is primarily for reporting. So I do want to show you briefly some reports that you can do for sales tax. It's in Report Manager. You can see that down here on your status bar. You can go under Sales Tax. 2 different types of reports, Summary Detail and Table District Code. Most people just run a Summary Detail report, but there are instances if you have a lot of different tax codes and you need to determine, okay, I have food items and this is what was my sales and my tax for food items, these are my other items, then you may want to run a Table District Code report. So let's review here briefly, and then I'm going to open this up for questions. Remember, your tax tables are for customers. Tax districts are your taxing entities that you may need to report your sales tax to. Your formulas are in your tax districts, and your tax codes belong to inventory items. These formulas are date sensitive, and so for that reason, anytime your tax rate changes, you always want to put an ending date on your existing formulas and add new formulas with a new start date and your new formula. I want to thank everybody for attending. I'm going to open this up for questions. Remember, next week is First Thursday with Michael Gebb, and I'm not sure what his topic's going to be, but he always has some interesting things to say. So, does anybody have any questions?
On the, when you're changing the date, is there a bulk way to change the date, or you just have to go through each one?
You do need to go through each one. Change the date on the existing formula and add a new formula. I can kind of show you how to do that here. If you go back to Keystroke and go back to Configuration Manager, Tables, Tax Tables, and you go in here, and let's go down a little bit. Say this formula is going up, so you go in and you're going to change this, that it's going to change on 08, it's actually going to end on the end of July, so you put an ending date, and then you can hit F2, T taxable, and say it's going up to 8.5%, starting on the 1st of August. So that's what you have to do for all of your formulas when your sales tax rate changes.
Fair enough.
Anybody else? Well, hopefully I'll get to see some of you at our dealer training coming up in a little over a week in Las Vegas. It's been wonderful chatting with you, and I hope to see a lot of you there. Everybody have a great day.